So these are our collapsible tripod stands. The contractor's package gets 3 of these. The importance of being able to use tripod stands is that since our system is the only one in the world that can couple together, you need to have stands that can cradle it while you're putting it together. If you have the stands, one person can put the system together. If you don't have the stands, 3 guys will struggle with putting the system together. They collapse so they don't take up very much room. It's pretty easy to get them to spread out. They're adjustable in 3 different locations for height. And then you can fine tune it by threading the top up quite easily. It's got ball bearings on the top that allow you to spin the tube for putting the pipes together, 2 pipes together. We'll drop these back down. They weigh 15 pounds, so real easy to handle. So you can see right now this is going to slide to one side, so I just have to thread this side up, and then it won't roll to one side or the other. It has 4 9/16 inch bolts. For normal concrete, for regular concrete, there's no need to add water to these tubes, but it's a nice option to have for pervious concrete so that you can strike it off in one pass with a nice head of mud in front of it so that you can get some compaction on the cement itself. We include a can of 6-way lubricant to spray on the threads. Spray it on both ends if you want. When we're putting these together, I took and looked down both pipes to see if it's nice and straight. It's sitting like this, so I have to bring this center one up. These are the spanner wrenches that are included with the toolbox. Right-handed threads, so just like all of the threads except gas threads. And then underneath the white caps is a set screw. On the end of the tube, you can see a bare spot that the set screw locates down onto. This is to keep the tubes from coming apart during the pour. We have the motor on the right-hand side of the pour. It isn't quite as critical to tighten these set screws, but if you have the motor on the left-hand side of the pour as you're pulling, that energy would be trying to loosen the threads, and you'd have to have these set screws located or tightened down. So once you've tightened it down, put the white cap back on again with the wrench, which is also provided with the system.
Again, when disassembling at the end of the job, you want to remove your white cap if you've set your set screws, and you want to unset the set screws.
3/16.
Tap it back in. It's now ready to be taken apart.
The wrench comes with the motor. There's a spot on the motor for the wrench, right where the kickstand. It's part of the kickstand. So there's a little hole there. All you got to do is the kickstand is spring loaded. So you have to push in on this side in order for the kickstand to move. And so when you're in a pour, A lot of guys will either push in the left-hand side, kick up the kickstand, or they'll just push it in and raise the kickstand up. Sometimes they'll raise the kickstand all the way up to there to get it out of the way. There is another kickstand located down on the bottom of the motor, so that when you take the motor off at the end of the pour, that you don't have to lay the motor down. So there's a 3-point stance that allows it to stand upright. The clevis, there's an automatic oil shutoff in the gearbox or in the crankcase of the motor. The motor is a 50cc Honda, 2-stroke, no mixed gas. Four-stroke motor, no mixed gas. So you can change the location of change the pitch of the motor by simply pulling the clevis. Why that's important is that if the motor leans over more than 20 degrees from center, it'll kill itself. And that's built into the motor so that you protect your investment. That Honda has done that so that you can't hurt the motor by running it low on oil. It'll shut itself off. But during the pour, you want to have the motor as upright as you can. So even if you're striking off concrete that's 2 feet above your feet, you have to adjust the clevis so the motor stays fairly upright. The motor also has an output shaft on both sides of the gearbox, side of the pour, and the tube coming out this side. That means that the energy is always tightening the joints. 95% of the pours that you set up, you'll be able to have the motor on this side of the pour. But for those times when you have to have the motor on the left-hand side of the pour, it's important to tighten the set screw that's underneath the white plastic cap. The contractor's package is our most popular package that we send out. It includes a 20-foot, a 12-foot, a 6-foot, and a 4-foot tube, along with an 18-inch wall plug with riser wheel and a 6-inch wall plug with riser wheel. These can be threaded on. The oil just helps the release of the cement. Again, we would use the spanner wrenches to tighten it up. Again, there would be a set screw underneath the white cap that you would use to make sure that these can't come unthreaded. If you have the motor on the right hand side, that's usually not a problem. You tighten up the joint real well with the spanner wrenches. On the end of the 18-inch wall plug and on the end of the 6-inch wall plug is what we call the riser wheel. The riser wheel is slightly bigger than the tube. It's a steel wheel with a bearing pressed into it. So as the Screed tube is spinning in the pour at 250 to 300 RPMs, the riser wheel would come into play if you're running on hard concrete. So again, this is designed to protect your investment. Eliminate any scratching that the tube might do on yesterday's concrete, for example. The 18-inch and the 6-inch wall plug have a pulling eye so that you can pull from this location. The reason why we call these wall plugs is that you can drag this right against the wall. There'll be no extra, you don't have to do any extra magging to fix up alongside of the wall. So with any other roller screed, there's probably a 4 to 6 inch space that has to be touched up. That's just not the case with ours. We have on the metal pulling handle, we have 2 eyes, and then we have a swivel so that you can't get it twisted up. So I can spin this handle, if I pick it up repeatedly, I might keep twisting it, but it won't knot up on me, so it won't be a problem. I can also, with this little plate and this shape that's been welded onto the pulling eye, or to the pulling handle, I can make, it's the same shape as that shape is, and I can lock the handle on so it's solid. So I have a solid pulling handle, but 90% of the guys out there will use this the way it is, or a rope. The advantage to using a rope would be that you might be able to stand back 15 or 20 feet from where the crew is working and still be able to pull the screed tube along. So this can just snap on and snap off at the end of the core for easy cleanup.
The motor set rise wheel is just an 1/8 of an inch bigger than the pipe itself, and matches up with the motor, or with the riser wheels on the 6 and 18 inch.
Again, this is designed to protect your investment. That if you've got the motor running on yesterday's pour, you're not going to beat up the tube. You're not going to scratch yesterday's pour, and it's going to make for a very easy pull because there's a bearing pressed into the riser wheel on both ends, and so all you're pulling is wet cement. So very easy on the crew.
Now you've got metal forms, and your metal forms have all kinds of cement, dried cement on them. Like a form runner, now the pipe can turn inside here. Now whatever turns, it's just the form runner turning, not your pipes on your concrete that's on your metal forms. Just another help you save your investment.
If the form is right here, for example, we would put grease right here and slide the form runner right on to that location, and so there would be grease in there, again, protecting your investment. When you need to take another tube off and add a tube to it, or just reconfigure your whole, the tubes that you're using, you can use both pipe wrenches opposing one another, and you can take it apart that way, or you can simply just hit it once or twice. So adding the adjustable curb runner.
Oh, you start the motor
Yep.
and spin it?
Yep. Go slow. So that's how you can put on the adjustable curb runner. So we can adjust our depth by simply allowing this to collapse to the depth that we want. Put the bolt back in again, and we are going to be running on these two surfaces and striking off the concrete this low. Or we can go deeper or shallower quite easily. We have wheels on here that are separated by just a plastic pipe, and why we did that was so that if you were running on top of like a garage foundation wall with anchor bolts in it, the anchor bolts would pass through right here, and you'd be running the wheels on either side of the anchor bolt. Then on the back side here, if you were running up against a wall, there's plastic bumpers that allow you to just, there'll be no scratching of the concrete, and it'll just drag along on that plastic bumper.